Welcome, everyone. This is Araceli, Transition Wealth Advisor and Real Estate Investing Coach, and also investor in the US and Canada. In my chat with Colette, we have something very interesting. Colette, can you introduce yourself and tell us what
Sure.
we're talking about?
Of course, I'd be happy to. My name is Colette Rabba. I'm a residential real estate broker in the GTA, and we both love, well, of course, I love selling and buying real estate with my clients, but also Araceli and I love to talk about real estate and everything that is encompassing real estate. And we get questions all the time. We get questions from you guys, so please keep those coming. Like, subscribe, ask us whatever you need to know, or you have any questions about real estate in not just in Ontario, but also in the US. And we'll try and answer them as best we can. So today we are talking about renos and condos, and that is something that a lot of people like to look at condos, and they might be 20, 30, 40 years old buildings, and they really could use a refresh or a reno. And how do you do it, and what are the things to protect you before you even buy a condo in some cases? Or let's say you own a condo and you do want to renovate it. These are a few things that we like to just give you the heads up of maybe you haven't thought of it, to really think about this before you even start the process. So we've come up with 7 things, I think, to say, hey, have you thought of this? So before you renovate a condo, what's number 1? You want to take number 1?
Sure. So number 1, so you need to ask the condo board what's allowed to do. So this could be many, many things. It could be from either materials, the painting, colors. What is it allowed that you can do to change? So
Even the time it's going to take. So they might say you can only renovate between these months. So let's say maybe sometimes in the winter they say there's no way, because we know that the snow machines have to come in and clear the driveways, and we can't have anybody blocking anything with, let's say, a garbage dump or something like that that you might need. So these are things the condo will have a lot of questions for you. The condo board will have lots of questions to say, how big of a scope is it? What's your time frame? How long is it gonna take? And these are things that actually help you. So don't think that it's a bad thing, because it's really, really good to plan out, especially if it's a big renovation. You got to plan all that stuff out. Let's say you're doing a bathroom or a kitchen and you need cupboards. Are you going to order them in advance so the renovation will go quick? Where are you going to store them? Is this the place that you buy them from? Are they going to, so you see what I mean? Like, it's just a snowball effect. Once the condo board, talks to you about it and you get more information, there are so many other things that you have to talk about or to plan before you even start. So that's number 1.
yeah,
That was a lot.
the number 2 is that you can't usually change the plumbing or drains. So you might have to if you have a sink here, you might change the sink, but you cannot move it to the other side. So,
And why is that?
well, because condos sometimes they have a specific way of repairing or doing maintenance that it might not allow you to move those kind of things. In a house, it's a little bit different. You may have the ability to make changes, especially with bathrooms and kitchens, a lot easier than you could do it in a condo, because remember, it is many apartments that are running out of the same line. And if you change it, it might actually be on a detriment to you, because you might not have the same water pressure, it might not work correctly, and all of that, and it might not be allowed at all.
Right. And if you think of construction, usually condos, like they're on top of each other. So that plumbing stack, that drain is going to run down, because, it makes the most sense as far as having gravity
Yeah,
take all your
everything.
waste. I was gonna say a bad word, but I wasn't gonna say it. I got myself. So that's the thing. If you imagine like all the drains are running a certain way, you don't want everybody above you to like have to go through your drains because you've moved it, and they have to, they're waste has to go somewhere else. So you really want to avoid that. That's one thing. The other thing too is it's I think one of the ones that one of the other ones, but most of the condos that I have been in, like the towers, they're made out of concrete. So imagine you have to get through concrete
Yeah,
to change your plumbing or to
yeah.
disrupt your neighbors and the flow of all that stuff. It might not be
Well, that
allowed.
is kind of part of number three, which is it has to do with noise and the time that you may be allowed to do the work. So you have to really check with the condo board.
Right. And that's the other thing too. I was just going to say, sometimes when you're talking about plumbers and electricians, they might even have people that they only allow certain plumbers or certain
Yeah,
trades to work on these buildings because of the infrastructure and because of the delicacy of, possibly an older building that not every plumber knows how to work around these things that someone who knows the building and knows what to do, that's who you want. So always check with the condo board if those are the trades that you have to use, or you can get your own trades. So that
correct.
was number three. Yes, noise is a big thing.
Yeah. So number four is that you have to also think about the elevator, especially when you're bringing large deliveries and garbage removal, like especially when you're doing demolition.
Right.
How are you going to take and when and how you're going to be able to reserve the elevator?
And
That's
there might be a cost to that too. So, and you have to plan it out. So let's say you do your demolition in one day, get the elevator reserve the next day because you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what kind of things they might get into. Living through a renovation is very difficult, especially in a condo where you might only have one bathroom, let's say, and that's what you're renovating. Plan, plan, plan. That should be number 7 or 8. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, so reserving the elevator is a big deal. So number 5.
it's just be careful when overspending on renos. If you're the first person to sell in the building and people are comparing costs to the reno, you may not make money. So if you're trying to kind of just flip it or something like that,
Yeah.
just be very careful on what you're putting into it. So
Yeah. And do it for, we always say this about any reno, don't do it for your own taste. Do it for like the best, the most buyers out there and what they're looking for. And you'll find that you can do a little more research and you can ask your realtor too to do research on the building too to see what the difference is between a renovated condo
yeah,
and a unit that has not been renovated. So maybe it's actually better to just not renovate it. So, those are the things. Be really careful with overspending. Do the research. Plan, plan, plan. So number 6.
well, you talked about a little bit about it that the majority of condos would be probably made out of concrete, which is going to make it harder to drill anything on the floor or the ceiling. There's also pot lights dropping from the ceiling that you may not be able to change. So just take that into consideration when you're planning for renos.
Yes, and there is a way. So this is the thing. That's why you hire the right people because there is a way to add more lighting without going into the concrete, without drilling and making all that noise and making all the crumbling and who knows what kind of disaster you're setting yourself up for. There's lots of ways to work around it. So obviously talk to someone who has that knowledge that they have done condos before. Like, don't get a contractor that has no idea about the difference between a house and a condo renovation. You'll pay for it, trust me.
Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And number 7 is find out where you can dump in the condo garbage versus maybe you have to get your own bin and if it's allowed and where you can put it.
Yeah, and how much? Because if you're taking a whole if you're, whatever, it's a 2-bedroom condo or 2-bathroom and you're doing both bathrooms and the kitchen, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of cupboards and there's a lot of waste, maybe you're taking down some interior walls, that could be allowed to with the condo board. So all these things, you might have a lot of garbage. You'd be really surprised how much garbage you can accumulate by a small renovation. So really figure that out before. Going back to number 1, talk to the condo board. Make sure you plan ahead. You really talk about how much waste there is. And a contractor should be able to give you the idea of like what kind of a bin you might need, or maybe you can donate the cupboards. Like all these things will either cost you money or save you money sometimes. So and headache. But condos are tricky when it comes
Yeah,
to towers. We're not talking about townhouses, condo townhouses. They're more like, in some cases they're more
yeah.
like a home. But when it comes to towers and you're dealing with concrete and elevators and neighbors and things like that and noise, do your research, plan ahead.
Sometimes you may have to do it in stages, like,
Yeah.
do all the demo, take the garbage out and wait, and then come back to do whatever else you need to do. As I said, depending on the condo rules, when you can do it. Sometimes things that take longer is because you can only work certain hours to do the reno. So that's basically it. So just to kind of give
I
you
have a
the,
bonus. I
oh,
have a
right, what
bonus
kind of
one.
bonus?
Talk to your neighbors and actually discuss the reno with your neighbors, because they can be your best friends. If you don't have a bathroom for a couple days, if you need to just, run over and store something in their fridge, like these are the things that neighbors are for. And honestly, like that's just a nice thing to do anyway, to get to know your neighbors, especially when you're in a condo, and talk to them and say, listen, I'm really sorry. I apologize now. Bring them over a bottle of wine or a cake or something. Say, I'm really sorry. I know it's going to be loud. Maybe somebody's working from home. Like these
Yeah.
are, maybe they have a
Well,
baby that
yeah,
be
exactly. If you
considerate.
know, instead of, getting them upset because you're making a lot of noise, if you can plan according to them saying, listen, when is the best time? Do you work like from, 9 to 5 that I can work so you don't have to be bothered by the noise? Like you said, if they have a baby, that might be a very upsetting for them, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they work shifts. You don't know, right? Like you want to make sure that you really don't upset anybody as much as you can, because it could be your friends at that time, like knowing that they can come and tell you, hey, there's a lot of work and a lot
It,
of noise going
It's
on.
exactly how you want to be treated. If you want to have a heads up, then I would absolutely talk to the neighbors and say, "Hey, I'm giving you the heads up because that's the way I would want to be treated." And maybe they want to renovate their condo too, and then you can save on costs. So there's a win-win. If you have terrible neighbors, yes, I understand that's possible, but really it's how do you want to be treated, and
Well,
do that.
you can only do what you can from your own side. If you have to renovate and you're not going to renovate, do as much planning, because unfortunately with condos, you have people around dealing with the condo boards, dealing with all of the infrastructure of getting things in and out.
Right. And you don't want them to complain about you too. So you might as well do all the planning in that beforehand and try and keep everybody happy.
Absolutely. So just to do a summary, so the first thing is you need to ask the condo board what it's allowed. You may not be able to change any of the plumbing. I mean, like moving it from one end to another. Um, the noise, you need to know what time you can be doing your renovations. And of course, like Colette said, ask the neighbors as well. It's not only the time allowed, but whatever is close to you.
Hmm.
And remember that you're going to be dealing with a lot of elevators, so a lot of planning for deliveries, garbage removal, things that are big that you need to get out of or in the building. Number 5 is be careful of overspending, because you may not have, like you may want to add granite countertops and it's really not required.
Yeah.
So that's, make sure that you
Number
do
5.
the right things. So number 6 is remember that the condos usually are made of concrete and pot lights cannot be changed. So all of that you have to see if you're adding more lighting or if you're doing any type of demolition on the floor. So that's another one. Number 7, find out what the condo will accept as garbage, and if you need to bring your own bin, how long you can have it, how much it's going to cost you, and the time specifically that you can have it there. So all of that it's a lot of planning, but it can be done if you need to renovate your condo. So
Absolutely.
this
That's
is
it. That's
awesome.
awesome.
If you have anything else, if you've ever done a condo renovation, let us know if you had any other items that we can add to this list. But if you're planning to do that, this list is actually a very good start point so you can start doing your planning.
Plan it out. I think that's
Thank you.
great. And you know what? I'm a fan. If my neighbor brought me a nice bottle of wine to say, hey, I'm renovating, yes, please.
Absolutely. So that's what we
No
want.
harm in that.
Awesome. So that's great. Well, thank you very much, Colette. And we will see you next week.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being here on the show. Please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when there are more shows available. And if you would like to have more information on how to start investing in real estate, please visit my website at www.aracelihernandez.com. Thank you.